There's a story that tells of a woman who one day went into the toilet. There, she found a discarded Lee Kichan doll on the ground. Wondering what it was, she picked it up. In addition to its regular legs, there was a third yellow leg attached to it. Surprised, she dropped it to the ground. "I'm Lee Kichan! I'm cursed!" the doll began to repeat, over and over. The woman ran out of the toilets, scared out of her wits. But no matter how far she ran, she couldn't get the voice out of her head. Every day she heard the doll's voice, over and over. It pushed her to the brink, and she destroyed her own eardrums in an effort to make it stop. In some versions of the story, the victims are pushed to suicide, and in others, the Lee Kichan doll, composed of two existences in one doll, seeks out the rest of her missing parts. To those who hear or read this story, you will perhaps receive a phone call from Lee Kichan within 1 week. It could be your house phone or your cell phone. There's no way to prevent or avoid it. The only thing you can do is pray for the duration of that week that Lee Kichan doesn't decide to call you. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Kowabana, true Japanese scary stories from around the internet. Just like the Lee Kichan doll from the opening story, this week we're going to be looking at curses, or more specifically, family curses. It's fairly common in Japanese horror for curses to affect either a single place, like you see in the Grudge movies, or an entire family line. There's no escaping it. Simply being born into the wrong family can find you struck down by a curse. Our first story features a young man who has the ability to see ghosts. An old friend comes back into his life and informs him that his father's colleague is being plagued by something supernatural. What they find when they get there, however, truly terrifies him. Find out what happens in Inugami. After high school, I went to university for 2 years, but various circumstances forced me to quit. I started hanging out with a fortune teller I knew shortly thereafter. The days passed in a haze, and before I knew it, several years had passed. Then, he returned. He didn't care at all about my concerns or worries. He just rocked up, smiling like nothing had changed, and said he'd be staying for a while again. Well, what do you want me to say? So many things happened, I can't even begin to put them all into words. I made you feel sad, huh? My bad. No, look, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I suppose I should say, welcome home? Yeah, I'm back. It was a very quick and simple reunion. So he hadn't died after disappearing then. It turned out that he was just taking a holiday. Of course he was. And just like that, we started hanging out again. Then, a few days later, he approached me. Hey, let's go to Kochi. What's this all of a sudden? He was always like this, doing things on the spur of the moment. What? You're the one who said it. Huh? Ah. Now that he mentioned it. Apparently, his father's colleague was being bothered by some paranormal phenomena. Both his father and this colleague lived in Kochi Prefecture. Wait, we're really going? As soon as you get permission. You can take some days off, right? Yeah, probably. Kochi wasn't terribly far away. I could probably get away with 2 or 3 days off, I thought absent-mindedly. But anyway, it's my father's colleague, not mine, so I don't know how this is gonna turn out. It'll be fine. If they really are in trouble, then they'll ask for help. If they're not, then it doesn't matter. He smiled. Damn it. It had been a while since things played out like this. But that night I received permission for a few days off, and I found myself even looking forward to it. Why do I have to be the driver? You have a license, don't you? Yeah, but so drive. I did have a license, yes, but I usually rode a bike. I was a little worried about driving a car, but he didn't seem to care. We borrowed my father's van and set off for Kochi. About 30 minutes after we set off, my friend fell asleep, so we entered Kochi in silence. He ended up sleeping the entire way to our destination. Hey, we're here. Huh? Oh, we're here. Wow. We really are all the way out in the countryside, huh? It's not that different to where we live, you know. Yeah, maybe. So, the details of the paranormal phenomena in question. It was his father's colleague. I'll call him O-san. O-san was married, and the house in question was his wife's family home. He had until recently lived in Kansai, but thanks to a work transfer, needed to move. O-san's parents were both dead, while his wife's parents were both senile. Although the parents' house was kind of far from his workplace, it was a good opportunity, so they moved in with them. He had a nightmare? I asked. Yeah, he started having bad dreams. So, what are the details? In the dream, he's locked away in a small space. It feels incredibly real, this feeling of confinement. He said it's like a lucid dream. He can even move around freely under his own free will. But the strange thing is, he can't stand or walk. He can only crawl around like a caterpillar. My friend smiled. It's been a while since I saw that smile. He looked to be having the time of his life, while my smile barely reached my lips. Other than O-san, apparently one of his colleagues who spent the night had the same dream as well. Alright, I wonder what we'll see. It was a huge countryside house. There was nothing strange about it from the outside. Wait. That's a window, right? There was a window open that clearly wasn't on the first floor. It wasn't a glass window. It was latticed. You finally noticed, huh? It's probably the attic. Ah, okay. Maybe it's for storage or something. Yeah, maybe. Hey, is that their child up there? Looking this way? It looked like a girl looking down from the window. Was she playing in the attic? It doesn't matter. Come on. I think I know what we're dealing with already. Okay. There's no doorbell. Hello? Is anyone home? I called out in a rather loud voice, and a short while later the sliding door opened. Can I help you? Yes, you see... I see. You're the son. And you are... Me? I'm here to help. It's nice to meet you. Are you O-san, by any chance? My friend smiled. Every time I saw him, I was reminded of just how smooth he was with other people. Yes, that's me. My family's out at the moment, so if there's anything in particular that you'd like to see, don't hesitate to let me know. He led us into the back, and slowly the wheels in my head began to spin. Hang on, what did he say? Did he just say his family was out? So, can you show us the attic? My friend asked suddenly, as though he was reading my mind. The attic? Sure, but I've never even been up there myself. I think they used it for storage, but there's nothing there now. So, what you're saying is that you don't know the state of the attic right now? Yes, I suppose I am. Is that important? If his entire family was out, who was the girl I saw in the attic? I think it's very important. Anyway, if you could lead the way. Sure. Puzzled, Oh-san showed us to the attic entrance. In the back of the house, there was a narrow staircase, and at the top was the entrance. What would you like to do? Will you come in with us? My friend smiled, but Oh-san just shivered and politely refused. This was it. I knew it. The cause of the problem was up there. My friend turned back to look at me. I nodded. Let's go. He opened the door and a humid breeze blew over us. In the summer heat, just below the attic door was awfully hot. Yeah, I thought so, my friend muttered as he went inside. I followed him, leaving Oh-san behind us with a worried look on his face. Hey, you like manga, right? Huh? Oh, yeah, I guess. You read Tezuka Osamu's Ayako, right? Yeah. You mean... Yeah. The attic was piled high with dust. It triggered my sensitive nose, but at the time, that wasn't very important. The first thing I saw as I entered was the lattice. Although it was made of wood, you could tell at a glance how sturdy it was. A single corner of the room was sectioned off, and it wasn't made of wooden floorboards, but tatami, like it had been made comfortable for someone to spend time there. That's right, to spend time there. It seemed highly likely that at least one member of the family was spending time behind that lattice. It was an old house with a long history, but I never thought I'd see such a thing before me. It was a room for confining lunatics. Look at the window. That's the window you saw the girl from, right? It was, but something was strange. The window was so high that not even I, at 180 centimeters, could see out through it. It had to be over 2 meters high. She had to have been flying to look out the window. There's nothing around here she could have even stood on. Having spent all those years behind these bars, I'd be surprised if she could even walk. Ah, so that's why he couldn't walk in the dream. My friend went over and looked at the door attached to the lattice. Just like I thought. Look. There was a rusty padlock keeping the door locked. Despite how rusty it was, it hadn't decayed. It still looked sturdy as ever. She just wanted out, huh? I think so. The wood has started to rot, and the lock is getting rusty. Look, you just need to put in a little elbow grease. I changed positions with him and pulled on the padlock with all my might. It ripped off. Now the door will open. Yeah, our job here is done. So we're done then? Huh? My friend kicked all my plans to go sightseeing out the window. Even though we'd saved the girl, dark clouds settled over my heart. That should be the end of the bad dreams, but I wonder what'll happen now. What do you mean? We finished. Why do you think he was the only one having the nightmares? Why was O-san the only one having them? Because this wasn't his house? That's right. Now, having understood that, there's just one more thing. He smiled. It was that dark smile he always had. Ah, of course. How silly of me to forget. He would never just do something to help out others. He was the type of guy that would put others, or even his own life, on the line if he thought something interesting might come out of it. There was something else, and it had to do with the family who owned the house. You don't know? As frustrating as it was, I could only nod my head in agreement. I put my hands together in a prayer in the direction of the room. That girl had no doubt died in there, and now, still, even without knowing the reason why, it was terribly sad. Perhaps because we had suddenly moved, mice started running around at our feet. We decided to leave. What's wrong? I smiled at O-san, who was waiting for us at the foot of the stairs. It's okay now, but you should go up there every once in a while and give it a thorough cleaning. Oh, okay. Anyway, for now, just wait and see. If anything else happens, let us know immediately. O-san looked at us with a strange look on his face, but I didn't think he had the courage to go in the attic alone. He probably knew something dangerous was up there, and didn't want to involve himself directly. We shook his hand, said our goodbyes, and returned to the car. You know, here in Kochi, or all of Shikoku really, there are no foxes. Perhaps because of that, the old fox religion changed into something different. Ah, that's right. There was something else that was especially famous in Kochi and even Tokushima. The dog spirit! That's right. When it comes to family lines in Kochi, that's the first thing to keep in mind. Especially that last name. It's not terribly rare in Kochi, but it is in other places. There's no mistaking it. That family is haunted by a dog spirit. But I thought all those families would have died out by now. You don't know anything, do you? The dog spirit is different to the fox. It's not something that will protect you if you pray to it. It's a curse, passed down to all of your descendants. My friend laughed. He was probably happy to see my surprised face after so long. You saw a girl in that attic. Of course, I saw her as well. But that girl was a sacrifice. It was closed up in there with her. You didn't see it? See what? The small animal, like a mouse or weasel. There was at least 2 of them. The small animal that ran by my feet. There was no way. Well, even if that's true, why did O-san have the dreams? Did she just want him to know she was up there? I don't think so. That girl knew her role in all of this. I think she wasn't trying to ask him for help, but was sending a warning. Get out of here. I felt something hard in my pocket. I realized I'd brought the padlock with me. Unlike foxes, the dog spirit was passed on as a curse. Why? I really wanted to know why. Was it because of bad treatment by owners? Should I go and say something? I don't know. Dog spirits can also bring about good fortune. You saw Osan's face, didn't you? Was that the face of someone who had lost? Now that he mentioned it. Maybe it was just my imagination, but over the generations that family had prospered thanks to the dog spirit. But at some point it had changed into a curse. They sacrificed a girl to keep it locked up. And while they had escaped the curse, at the same time, they had also lost its power. Then, supposing someone in the family was hoping for a revival of fortunes, like perhaps Osan's wife or her parents. Osan made a fine victim, didn't he? By using us, two people entirely unconnected to the family line, to free the dog spirit, they could then be freed from its curse? No, it was incomprehensible. I couldn't believe it. I shook my head furiously. Hey, look ahead when you're driving. I don't know what you're thinking about, but I'm just hypothesizing here. Don't worry about it. We did the right thing. But that expression was not one of a knight in shining armor. He said he'd come and visit me again. I said nothing. That night, the little girl appeared in my dreams. She looked terribly sad, but I don't know whether it was actually a message from her or just my fears manifesting themselves. Not too long after, Osan transferred, and I don't know how to get in contact with him anymore. Like this story mentioned, inugami, or dog spirits, are mostly found in the Shikoku region of Japan, where there are no foxes. Dog possession is very similar to fox possession, but it's said that inugami will curse an entire family instead of just one person, and they grow in number as the family grows. Families possessed by the dog spirit have been known to grow very wealthy, but those who displease it have been known to die in mysterious circumstances, and the only way to get rid of it is to have it removed by a sorcerer. Our next story features a transfer student to a teenage boys' high school. He's tall and handsome, and everyone wants to be his friend. But the students soon discover there's more than meets the eye with this particular boy. What secret is he hiding? Find out in Old Lady Thani. When I was in junior high school, there was this famous woman called Old Lady Thani. She was the mother of one of my classmates. Everyone at school and even around the neighborhood knew of her. She looked like a regular woman, but she was a really good listener and great at telling stories. Even the local delinquents didn't want to upset her. They were like, "Nah man, we don't want to piss her off." She listened to our stupid problems and gave us useful advice. And when necessary, she got angry at us as well, and encouraged us to do our best. She was like that one adult we could freely talk to about things we couldn't tell our parents or teachers. She was everyone's mother. The first thing that comes to mind when you mention Old Lady Thani is ghost stories. She told amazing ones. They were just like any other ghost stories, but she told them so well. They were so scary that the girls would all scream and carry on like children. This story is about her. During autumn of my second year at junior high school, a transfer student named Akiyama joined our class. We lived out in the countryside and didn't often get transfer students, so everyone was interested in him. My first impression of him was that he was tall and handsome, the type of guy all the girls would like. At first, everyone flocked to him and helped him out with whatever he needed. But after a while, they started avoiding him. "He threw a rock at a dog. Even if he injured it, there's nothing we could do. He kicked a cat as hard as he could. It was twitching and couldn't move, so he stomped on it." The teachers got wind of this, of course, but his mother was one of those so-called monster parents. According to the rumors, he was a problem at his last school as well. His mother often fought with the school, and in the end, his parents got divorced. His mother returned to her family home, and so he was now here. My mother was also born here, so she knew quite a bit about Akiyama's mother. I heard some rumors from her as well, but our homeroom teacher was quite hot-blooded and refused to back down from her. "All life is important. You must be affectionate to the weak. Education isn't just study." He was a force to be reckoned with. Even the delinquent kids who usually hassled the homeroom teachers respected him. But anyway, Akiyama was scary. Not like a delinquent or a bad kid or anything, but there was this weird darkness about him that was really scary. One day, I was going to Kamitani's place to hang out when I ran into him and his mother heading out to the shops. The supermarket was nearby, but they were buying a lot of rice and other heavy things, so he was going along with her. I offered my help, and the three of us went together. While we were shopping, I saw Akiyama standing a short distance away, all by himself. The supermarket was quite far from his house. He looked kinda suspicious for someone who was supposedly just shopping. I elbowed Kamitani, and he soon noticed him as well. "What the hell is he doing?" "I don't know." While we were whispering, Kamitani's mother stuck her face in between us. "Is that the Akiyama boy you spoke of?" she whispered. "How did you know?" We were both surprised. "He's no good. Don't go near him. There's nothing else you can do," she said, and then went back to her shopping. This was a woman who had never given up on anyone before. Ever. So her words came as a huge shock. Kamitani especially was surprised. For my mother to say something like that? Not too long after that, Akiyama stopped coming to school. But no one showed any sign of worry. Rather, the atmosphere was like no one wanted him to come back. His mother barged into the school several times. "Someone's bullying him! They have to be! My son is acting strange because of all this!" There was no bullying, but because he was always alone in class, things became a mess. His mother even came to my house. It seemed like she also knew about mine. "Your son has been bullying mine, hasn't he? My son has good grades, so yours is jealous. Your son is useless anyway. He should have been the one to go crazy." My parents tried to quietly drive her away at first, but in the end they were pretty pissed off. I was just somehow sad. Even his mother is crazy too. The third semester finished, and one day during the spring holidays, I went over to Kamitani's house. I was chatting with him and his mother when the subject of Akiyama came up. In all honesty, the whole time I'd been curious about him. Why did Kamitani's mother warn us not to go near him? Akiyama never ended up coming back to school. He went totally crazy, and even now is still in the hospital. Apparently his mother ended up in a different hospital as well. His grandparents had nothing to do with her either. Supposedly they said something like, "That mad woman isn't our daughter. Leave her in the hospital until she dies." After hearing all that, I asked Kamitani's mother, "So, just what was Akiyama? She thought about it for a moment before replying, "He wasn't human. I could tell just at a glance. He wasn't human anymore. The real Akiyama? Well, he was probably a regular boy. But he was consumed, little by little, until the real Akiyama disappeared. What lived inside his skin was just muddled desires in human form." Kamitani and I were shocked. His mother often told us ghost stories, but it was the first time she'd told us anything quite like this. Like she was a psychic or something. "How could such a thing happen? That's terrifying." We both turned blue. "The sins of the mother shall be visited upon the son." Or something like that, I guess. That boy's grandfather has killed many people over the years. Not directly, of course, but thanks to him, many people have died. The reason Akiyama's mother was so messed up was because of that. But because things can't be settled so easily, it passed down to Akiyama himself as well. The resentment and grudges of those who died, they called forth something truly sinister, and it consumed him. How sad. "That can't be. Then Akiyama wasn't the bad one," Kamitani said. "That's cause and effect. It doesn't curse individuals. It curses blood. Those who are close. You should be careful as well. Human beings never do things that make sense. You watch that, old man. Now, shall we get dinner ready? Kimura, you stay and eat something as well." Just like that, Kamitani's mother returned to the kitchen like everything was normal. Kamitani and myself both sat there, defeated. Even though he didn't do anything bad himself, for Akiyama to end up like that, it was scary. It felt like a story we should keep to ourselves, lest people start to treat Kamitani's mother strangely, so Kamitani and I promised to never mention it again. But I'm nearing 40 myself now, and Kamitani's mother has passed away, so that's why I'm writing it all down here. After those events, Akiyama's grandfather got sick and ended up completely paralyzed. He was bedridden. His wife died taking care of him, and then he was institutionalized. I later heard that in the past, Akiyama's grandfather was a big-wig moneylender, and rather crooked to boot. One of my mother's old classmates worked in the hospital where he was admitted, and according to her, his entire body was stiff. He couldn't even sit. But despite that, his pain was never ending. No matter what they did, they couldn't help him. Then he was infected with bed sores, which led to various other illnesses. And then finally, he died. "It would have been like hell on earth," she said. This happened just recently, so he spent the last 20 years of his life like that. I don't know anything about what happened to Akiyama or his mother. I don't even know whether they're alive or dead. Maybe it was all just a coincidence. Maybe his grandfather had a weak disposition and got ill. And maybe both Akiyama and his mother were just mentally unstable. I mean, there are plenty of people in the world who never do anything wrong, but still get sick or meet with misfortune. But having said that, to this day I make sure to visit my ancestors' graves and hold memorial services for them. I want to give thanks to them, because it's because of them that I can live this happy life I have. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. If there are any other themes or stories you'd like to see in future episodes, you can let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for even more scary content in the future. Thanks guys, and we'll see you again next week for even more Kowabana, true Japanese scary stories from around the internet. Want even more scary stories? Head over to kowabana.net for new translations every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday and Sunday. You can also join our Patreon for exclusive stories you won't find anywhere else. Head over to kowabana.net now.